What's up, guys? I'm Crystal Lee Naomi, aka Jasmine Borders on Tyler Perry's Sisters. Be sure to subscribe to the Haves and the Have Nots review for not only reviews on the Haves and the Have Nots, but also on Sisters. And while you're at it, give your girl a follow on Instagram at Crystal Lee Naomi. And I'll see you every Wednesday at 9 only on BET.
All right, Sistas fans. Hope everyone's doing well. This is just like an opinionation piece. It's not like a, you know, not so much a theory. I feel like a lot of people feel the same way I do when it comes to how Andi is portrayed. I know some people just hate Andi. This season has been wild, to say the least. Like I always say, in that description box below, you will see links to all my social media. I have Facebook groups for all the shows I review. The Sisters one is probably the most active because each week the post that I got to go through to approve to get in the group, because trust me, a lot of spam gets in even though I have to approve each post. It's weird, but the posts crack me up. After every episode, it's just a fanfare when it comes to Fatima, disdain when it comes to Andi. So before going further, make sure you like the video. Since this is a topic people have wanted me to do a video on, let's try to get to 300 likes. I think we can do 300 likes. Also hit subscribe. We recently hit 150,000, trying to hit 200,000 next. And I already said, follow me on social media. Links are down below. And also trying to get my percentage when it comes to watch time. I want to get that up when it involves subscribers. So click the bell icon and select all. That way you allow all notifications to come through and you know when I post content to the channel. Trying to end the year with at least 50% of my watch time coming from subscribers. So, I mean, it's ironic because Paris's mother, the custodian lady at the law firm, was telling Andi how, I could tell you're a good person and everything. And I'm just like, nah, she ain't. I think I did a video about, is Andi really a good person? And I'm like, you know what? I think she is a good person. She just makes some bad decisions when it comes to men. Like, a lot of people are like, she's book smart when it comes to, like, life and law. But when it comes to her own personal taste in men, she's dumb. But to be honest, it's like I did that video about how I have a annoying fascination with the show because the characters, look, I know the whole Tyler Perry writing a female show and all blah blah blah. I think it is interesting because the writing, despite how wonky it can be at times, just the way the characters act, just the way the characters make certain decisions, it's realistic. Even though we don't like how some of these characters act, we know a Karen in our friend group, our family. We know a Danny. We know a Sabrina. We know an Andi. Some of y'all might fit the bill of a specific character. Some of us, I mean, you might have a Maurice in your life. You might have a Calvin or a Zach. I mean, the list goes on. I think at the end of the day, you can't deny that the characters on Sisters are definitely real people in regards to their character. But when it comes to Andi, I think that season 2 has been doing her no favors. You would think that after all the shit she's been through, that she put herself in, I mean, let's be real. I don't really think she has learned humility. Just the way that she's casting judgment on everyone. Oh God. Last week's episode, that was probably, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I did enjoy the episode. But when it comes to Andi, that was probably the worst Andi episode ever. Like, she was just awful. Just awful. She put the A in awful. Awful Andi. There you go. I think the worst was, I don't know what was worse. I mean, her blatantly using Paris, who didn't seem to mind, to be honest, but, or just her just public judgment of Aaron, who's in recovery from, wait, you're just recovering alcohol like one day and you're in a bar? Wait, what? Karen, come here. You didn't tell me he wasn't recovery. I know Andi was already sitting, but she needed to take several more seats in that episode. And I know some people were getting on Karen's case about, well, you telling Andi about moving fast? You're one to talk. And I'm like, I mean, Karen, you could say what you want to about how Karen is like the pot calling the kettle black. She was looking out for her friend because she could obviously tell Andi was still heated from the whole argument with Gary, and her hooking up with or basically linking up with Paris is just a rebound reaction. That's literally all this is. And we know, well, now we know that Aaron and Paris actually know each other. They bowl together. I haven't been bowling in years, man. It's been a while. But at the end of the day, it's a scenario when I think that Andi is just blatantly using this guy because she's drunk, she's angry at Gary. I think one of the worst things about Andi this season specifically is how she's treating her girlfriends. You know, the fact that she like mocks and makes fun of Danny, and then, you know, even Karen is like, oh, you wearing those clothes looking like a, I forgot what she said, like a curtain or something. I'm like, Karen looked good in that green dress. What the hell is that she talking about? And I remember like it was Danny and Andi getting on Karen's case about, you should get Zach out of jail. And I'm like, why would she get Zach out of jail? Look, I mean, R. Kelly had fans get his bail, which was like $100,000+ at a time. I mean, obviously he's in jail now, but I mean, like when he first got arrested after that documentary. So it's like, I mean, yeah, there are women who will do that for a man, but I don't see why Karen was placed with the burden of getting Zach out of jail, because Zach did that to his own damn self. I mean, that's like, you know, Barbara Gordon bailing Joker or busting Joker out of Arkham Asylum after she was turned into a cripple after she got shot in a Killing Joke. Imagine that. Joker's put in Arkham, but then Barbara Gordon decides to get him out. See how ridiculous that is? He attacked them. You know, I mean, how are you going to tell Karen to get Zach out of jail when I know that Zach wasn't attacking Karen specifically, but who knew how far that fight would have went? Like, Karen could have gotten hit if she tried to break it up. There's no telling how. I mean, I think it really kind of stopped because Zach's stab wound was still, you know, crippling him, if you will. But that was just ridiculous. He chose to break in there and then start some shit, and who knows how far this thing could have been taken. So you have like Sabrina telling Andi, like, hey, you went through that abusive relationship in college, you don't need to go through that again. Look, Gary, we don't know if he, you know, did this to his wife on purpose and whatnot. You need to make sure you're careful. So you're telling Andi to be careful about Gary, but you're telling Karen to get Zach out of jail. What the hell, man? That makes no sense. Not to mention, you know, I wouldn't say she's using her friends. I think she like oversteps her bounds and, you know, manipulates their kindness, like Sabrina allowing Andi to stay with her because obviously at the moment she doesn't have anywhere to go. And then like the next morning where Sabrina gives her a pep talk to get out of bed, it's like, well, I have no clothes, no money. Well, you could borrow one of my dresses and I got you on some money. Well, for what I need, I'm going to need a card with more of a limit than this. You know what? Give me all the cards. I'm like, damn, Andi. I mean, and then next thing you know, you roll up in the bank with this 250K, oh, excuse me, 250K in cash, and you're trying to get Sabrina to give you a safety deposit box. Now, mind you, even though it was dumb for Andi to give the bank account information to Gary's business manager and whatnot, I said Sabrina, you know, her boss said she did something she wasn't supposed to do, which, to be honest, a few episodes later, she said, oh no, you didn't do anything wrong. But at the same time, like, she didn't go through the proper protocol by, you know, looking at the IDs and everything. She's like, oh, yeah, well, that's my friend Andi. And, you know, she's always a customer. And I just approved the transaction, the wire transfer and everything. And luckily, it turns out she did nothing wrong. But at the end of the day, Sabrina's job was almost in jeopardy, which again, I still blame that on Sabrina just because of the fact that she didn't follow proper protocol. But even though it turned out she didn't do anything wrong, the way she talked to her boss about it, it made it seem like she didn't cross every T and dot every I. So if she did everything by the book and then got, you know, suspended or something, yeah, that'd be jacked up. I wouldn't fully blame it on Sabrina. She was doing her job. But the fact that she didn't do everything she was supposed to do, then yeah, that's why I'm like, she has some fault in this. So I'm not blaming Andi for that situation. But in the situation of the safety deposit box, if I were Sabrina, I'm like, girl, look, I'm lucky I still got my job after I got involved with your little funny money right there involving Gary. But here you are now with 250K from Gary, and you want me to put into a damn safety deposit box. Something ain't right. It's like basically you're abusing your friendship. Like you almost unintentionally. I will say this about Andi. She wasn't trying to get Sabrina, in trouble. She was just trying to, a bank transaction. That was her own stupidity, but she wasn't trying to or knowingly trying to get Sabrina in trouble. But given the fact you just learned your friend's job is safe and secure, now you want to start some more shit by give me a safety deposit box. Jesus have mercy. All right. And then on top of that, like her and Karen, it's like Karen was trying to be a friend at that party, but then Andi's like, look, I'm grown. I want to make my own decisions and go with Paris. Okay, girl, go with Paris. So Andi hasn't been a good friend. I feel like if anything else, she's just been more of a load this season. Like, Fatima, I'm not blaming anything on Andi in that case, because remember when the FBI agent first showed up, she was the one that went into Andi's office and was hiding several incriminating pieces of evidence. So if something gets caught, then that's Fatima's fault. That's Fatima right there. So I feel like if nothing else, it's almost like Andi's kind of just like the, you know what, I'm just going to live recklessly now, as opposed to being a good friend. That's just how I feel. And obviously, her being selfish, that goes without saying. The way she's been treating people. She's been using people. She's been like talking down to people. I'm just seeing a new side of her that we haven't really seen before. Because in season 1, her whole thing was trying to avoid a conflict of interest, representing the wife of the man she's screwing with. On top of that, she's dealing with the consequences, and it's like you really can't feel sorry for Andi because she kind of did this to herself. Now, mind you, like, I'm not saying that cheating is a good thing, but I feel like some people that cheat don't expect things like the FBI to, be involved. I mean, at best, at worst, you're trying not to get caught by the person's, significant other. You're not trying to like lose your job over it, but then again, you just don't know who knows somebody. So now we're just seeing Andi. It's like she's making rash decisions. I mean, you would think she would learn her lesson. Like, I get it, you were broke, you lost everything, but that $250,000, I mean, I'm not saying whether or not she should keep it, but all I'm saying is, if you know that you killed it at your job, you shut down your former boss, the person above him is going to partner with the FBI to look into this to clear your name, and as a result, I'm going to assume that perhaps Andi would get the money back. At that point, I would say, screw you, Gary. Here's your cardboard box. I'm going to go out on my own and then truly be done with you. But you keeping that money, I feel like it's going to lead to more trouble. Like her leaving that jail, okay, that's good. But I still don't think that's the end of her and her and Gary together. But I feel like if Andi was truly showing that she was done with Gary, she would have gave him that $250,000 back, and that would have been the end of it. But we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But I don't think so far Andi has been shown to be a good person. I don't even want to say good character, but I don't think Andi has been shown to be a good person this season at all. I mean, in the aftermath of the night of drinking and having sex with Paris, she's probably going to wake up and regret it the next morning, because, I mean, just the way she's treating people. Like when she went into the salon to tell, I think she said this in like episode 2. She's like, when this whole thing with Gary's cleared up, maybe I'll call Paris. And then you go to the salon and talk about how, oh yeah, everything's good to go at the job, and Gary might be innocent and whatnot, but Paris, I don't know, maybe I'll give him a call. But what about Gary? What about him? It's like women like that who screw around with multiple men, say men aren't shit, and then expect to find love. It's like, you can't find love while looking through the garbage. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some relationships that happen from that. I don't know. I've been single way too long. I don't know how some people find love, but I feel like doing the same thing, it's like you can't screw people over and then expect to get your dreams, your dream relationship. It's like you can't screw people over figuratively or literally and then expect to find true love like that. It's like you reap what you sow. It's like you knowingly involving yourself with a married man. You basically using Paris because you're upset and angry and drunk. How do you expect to find a solid relationship from that? But what do I know? Again, I'm just a single guy who makes videos for a living talking about drama series. That tells you right there, you know, what I know. But I mean, I think my favorite meme that came from this is like that meme that's going around is like the villain, the actual villain, or you know, like the movie villain, the actual villain. I think the one that's been going around about Sistas is you know, Danny the villain, and then Andy's the actual villain. I can't help but agree. I mean, now I'm not saying that Danny was the most likable character in season one. I think she was my least favorite in season one, but then the whole Preston story arc kind of turned that around for me. But Andy's just making stupid ass decisions, facing consequences, wants to play the victim, and is essentially using her friends. So is Andi awful? Hell yeah. But is she fine though? Hell yeah. But I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Like Paris said at the club, is like you like one fight with your guy and you think it's over. It probably ain't over. It's like no, it's over for good. I don't think so. I mean, she literally told Karen, you know, that whole jealousy thing and all. It used to be sexy, but he's doing too much. It's like And the thing about it is, here's the worst part about it. She brings up the whole being jealous thing, but she never told Karen or the girls about how Gary essentially belittled not only her career, but like your shitty ass apartment and everything, your job. Basically, he doesn't care about Andi as a person. He just looks at Andi as a possession. Like, you have an intelligent black woman, and you know, I'm a black man, but it's easy to recognize that black women have it worse, because being a woman in this country or this world is more difficult than being a man. Being a black man is definitely more difficult than being a white man in this world, in terms of how the world looks at and perceives you as a person. But when it comes to women, obviously, like I just said, women have it tougher because they have more obstacles to jump through. And then if you throw on being black along with that, yeah, Andi's been through some shit. It's like, you know, being black, but then being a woman also, it's like a woman has to prove herself more than a man does. You know, and then of course you have the whole different pay scale in the working world where men make more than women. Look, I'm sorry. I don't want to offend anyone. I'm not trying to go on some kind of like political or gender-based rant or everything, but I'm just being real right now. And it's the fact that it's a shame that you have a woman like Andi who's so accomplished, and she's literally just being looked down on and shit on by a guy like Gary, you know? Because Andi deserves better. I just wish that she believed she deserved better and acted like she deserved better. Like, Andi, you deserve someone who's going to love you for who you are, but you need to stop messing around with people like Gary. First thing you need to do is, I don't think that she's fully over that whole abusive relationship from college. I hope we explore that more in future episodes. We learn more about it, because just the way he's like, ooh, he's sexy when he's jealous. Maybe that guy from college was also possessive. Maybe that guy was also someone who was in a relationship, but then Andi got with him anyway. And then as a result, you know, he became possessive and whatnot. I mean, who knows? There could have been a Jasmine she dealt with in college. Someone, again, like, let's say this guy was with someone, but then Andi intervened, and then, you know, that whole thing popped off. I think Andi might need therapy. That's what I think. I think Andi needs therapy to kind of cope and fully. I mean, I don't think anyone ever fully recovers from trauma like that, but at the end of the day, you're always going to remember how it felt to be in a situation. So to put yourself back in a situation like that, I don't think, you know, that's not a good look. And I think Andi's a real person, like a person who's successful in more ways than one, but when it comes to the Department of Love, she's more of a failure and makes dumb decisions. So I feel that Andi is the kind of character who, I mean, remember back in season one, I was saying like, yeah, you notice how Jasmine was right about Gary, how he tries to isolate you and everything. And, you know, so many times in subtle ways, it's like, Andi, I don't want you to go out with the girls. I want you to stay here with me. I'm going through a lot. He's literally, as the season one went on, you saw that Andi was spending less and less time with her girls. She was telling them less about what was going on. I mean, there was already dissension in the ranks because Danny and Sabrina called out Andi and Karen, because it's almost like their sister circle is broken in half, where it was Andi and Karen over here, Sabrina and Danny over there, and then as time went on, it was just Gary and Andi. And then, you know, you look at season 2 and we have Andi spending more time with her girls, but as she's spending time with the girls, it's really about her using the girls. So Andi really isn't that good of a person. Good looking, but not that good of a person. Sorry, not sorry. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who knows, I might do a part 2 to this video as the season progresses, because I'm very interested to see how things are going to go next season. Oh, I'm sorry, after this week's episode, after she wakes up on top of Paris on the couch and her mom wakes them up. So well, I can see it be like, you know, I told you to call my son, not do my son. So KJ, if you're watching this, you're great. I mean, this is one hell of a role, though. I feel like even though it's the same show, we're seeing a different Andi than the one we saw back in season 1. So let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comment section below. What do you think of Andi? Do you think she's awful? What do you think she could do to improve? Do you like her the way she is now? I mean, as much as I want her to get her career back on track, she needs to, even though her professional life was in shambles, it seems like it's coming back together. I think Andi as a person needs to work on herself too. That's what I'm thinking. She's working to get her career back. I think she needs to work to get her life back. So that's just me. But with that being said, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, like, subscribe, follow me on social media, turn on notifications. Shout out to the patrons over on Patreon. If you want to donate, feel free to do so. That's all, folks. Feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next video.